how does... that's way too low. Okay, hello. Is that the sun? I'm fully aware that I look gross today, but that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is that I got top surgery again. Woo! This video is about revision top surgery. I find it quite nerve-wracking talking about trans things online nowadays because a lot of transphobes can find content, and especially when you talk about gender-affirming surgeries and any negative aspects of these surgeries, I feel like people who hate trans people can just twist those words to their will and kind of use it as evidence that these surgeries are inherently negative just because they have negative aspects. But I also find it nerve-wracking because I don't want to put off anyone who potentially is thinking about getting these surgeries. Any negative aspects of this surgery does not take away from the overall positive result. That's the word, result. I do not regret having this surgery. I will never regret having this surgery. And any surgery, no matter whether or not it's a gender affirming one, it has negative aspects to it. So please don't let this put you off getting it if I talk about it as being scary. Any surgery is scary, and yeah, that's the disclaimer. As I've gone by making videos on TikTok, particularly about my chest, I've noticed a lot of people don't even know that what revision top surgery is or that it even exists, and that kind of shocked me. So I just want to make a video talking about it, talking about mine, adding to the resources that are there already. Revision top surgery is essentially a second top surgery that you can have to go back in and perfect any little imperfections. I use these words very loosely. It is very personal. It depends on what you consider to be an imperfection. But usually it is mostly an aesthetic surgery to get rid of excess skin or fat, or just to clear up anything that you might not be 100% happy with. So dog earring is another thing. And these are the kind of things that you can get fixed with revision top surgery. I'm going to show you some pictures now of my chest pre-top surgery. No. I'm not going to show you my titties, oh my god. I'm going to show you some pictures of why I wanted top surgery. Oh my god. I'm going to talk about why I had revision top surgery. You can see that the left side was quite significantly bigger than the right. I talked about it in my top surgery video that I had some fluid in my left side, and there was just some complications in terms of that. Like, I had to go get it aspirated, and because of that, because we kept on bringing that side, it was always noticeably more swollen than the other side. And I kind of was told just to wait it out, because that's all you can really do, is to wait it out, see how your chest heals, see how long it takes for it to calm down, I guess, see what it is at its natural state. I think pretty much around 5 months post-op, I figured that it wouldn't go down. So the main reason that I wanted top surgery was because of how the excess skin and fat on my left side, it hung down on my scar quite significantly, and it just made me dysphoric. It felt like a little boob. I didn't like that. On the right side, right under my armpit here, I also did have a dog ear, but for me, I didn't really care that much about the dog ear. It's like, whatever. I also want to make it clear that in my initial top surgery consultation, it was made clear to me that I would most likely need revision top surgery because I was a double D cup before top surgery, sometimes E cup, and my chest came very close together in the middle, so me and my surgeon were expecting that there would be dog ears in the middle. Surprisingly, I didn't have any dog earring in the middle. It was just one dog ear here, which is weird. It just shows you chests heal in different ways and in unexpected ways. We did expect, and I fully expected, that I would have revision top surgery. So it gave me the mental space to accept that I wasn't going to be immediately happy with my chest and that it was okay for that to happen, because I would be getting a surgery that would help reduce that dysphoria around, you know, the extra skin and fat on this side. That's why I got revision top surgery. There are probably other reasons that people get revision top surgery, but those are mine, and I wanted to show you a visual representation, and now I'll show you some post-op pictures of what chest looks like now after revision top surgery. It's the 16th of January, I'm kind of late to this. I wanted my chest acne to calm down, but it didn't calm down, so I'm just gonna show you my chest now. There it is. This is where the dog ear was, on my right side. So it's just like a little incision. All the stitches are out. I started massaging with oil every night. Well, when I remember to. And this is the bigger side, you can see. And I think this is still swollen. I don't really mind, to be fair, but like you can see it's still a bit bigger. I'm thinking it's still post-op swelling. If this is just what it looks like, if this is like for the rest of my life, it's fine. Like, it's so much better. I'm so happy with my results. And the incisions look amazing. Yeah. My chest. I just realised I didn't say who my top surgeon was, so my top surgeon is Millsbury. Now I'm going to talk about the actual experience itself. Overall, I'm so blessed that I was even able to get this surgery in the first place, let alone get it during a pandemic. I had revision top surgery a month ago now. I had it on the 30th of November 2020, and I had my first top surgery the 9th of December 2019. I think initially we did want to have revision top surgery earlier, but because of COVID, things were pushed back. Because of COVID, I had to shield 2 weeks before my surgery was scheduled. And shielding meant I wasn't allowed to go outside or interact with people in my household either. So it's pretty much social distancing in my own home. 4 days before the surgery, I went to get a COVID test. Pretty much like 10 hours later, that came back negative. So we were all clear for surgery. On the day, my mum drove me to London because it was revision surgery and it would not take as long as initial top surgeries. I was later in the day. I think my time, when was my time? I can't remember the exact time I ended up going into surgery, but to be there in London for 2:15. Because of COVID, I had to go in alone and I couldn't have anyone in there with me. And that is, like, there's 2 things that I really struggled with in this surgery, and this is the first one. There was such a lack of familiarity and comfort and the sense of kind of community, I guess. For my first top surgery, my family came in and saw me afterwards, and it was just, it's such a lovely memory, despite obviously the pain and being like drugged up and feeling really nauseous and all of that. It's still something that I hold really close to my heart, that my family all came there for me. And knowing that that just wouldn't be a thing, that couldn't even possibly be a thing because of COVID, was really difficult. So walking into the building and like signing in and everything and waiting, the waiting was horrible. It was really scary. For my first top surgery, I was not scared. This surgery, I was scared like a week before it was happening, and it just didn't go away. There was so much fear. So yeah, as I said, I went in, I signed all the forms, and then I was in the waiting room, and then I was led through into my room where we had the whole like, I think I waited in my room for around half an hour, maybe, and I brought stuff with me to take my mind off of things. I think I had a book and my Switch, so I could have had things that distracted me, but I couldn't do it. I was just on my phone, like flipping through different social medias, so nervous and so lonely and upset. It was just really hard. It was really hard, and I'm not gonna lie and pretend that that wasn't one of the hardest parts of it. I didn't have to give a urine sample this time round because I was not going under. I was only on local, which is the other major difference from the initial top surgery that I had. That was the other thing. I think that was also why I was really scared. So then I was brought down to the operating theatre. Miles drew on my chest If I get this a bit mixed up, I'm sorry, it's because it was a very big day and I have bad memory to begin with. I'm gonna try and explain the surgery process as best as I can. You have to spread your arms out like this. There's like kind of little arm rests that you can lay your arms on. And he cleaned this area of my chest. And then I'm pretty sure this is when he injected me with the local anesthesia. That's my coffee machine. See, the thing about knowing what your surgery is going to be like in theory and actually processing what it is in practice, they're two very different things. I knew that I would be getting needles, you know, I knew that I would be going under. But I didn't really think about the full process that I would be getting needles in my chest, which is still quite like mentally like a very sensitive place of my body. Like, he injected this side first because this was the smaller side that we were going to operate on first. And I think I had around 2 or 3 injections. By injections, I mean like inserts of the needle. So he injected me 3 times here, probably like 4 or 5 times on this side. And that was like, this was the first time where I was like, oh no. Like, I knew fully what I was having done and that it would not be nice, but I think there was a mental block on how it would actually feel. So that was done. It was not nice, obviously, but it had to be done, so it was done. Being injected anywhere is not very nice, and I remember at this point I just started shaking. Like, my body was shaking and I wasn't even really aware that I was shaking. The thing with local is that you gotta test if you feel it or not, right? So on this side he was kind of like, right, I'm just gonna like test if you can feel this, can you feel this? And then he would prod me with the scalpel, I guess. I wasn't looking at any of this. I had my glasses taken off because I knew that I would be looking at the reflection of his goggles. And he was like, can you feel any of this? And I couldn't. So we were like, all right, let's go ahead. And we did this side of my chest, which was just cutting out the dog ear. I think that probably took around 10-15 minutes. I'm not really sure how much time it took. Also, during all of this, I was wearing a mask, so not great. I've been struggling a lot with textures lately, and like having a mask against my face I really struggle with. So diathermy. Diathermy is a thing that I also knew was going to happen before, and this was a thing that I was kind of a bit worried about. I knew this would be the most unpleasant aspect of the surgery. So diathermy, I'm going to read out the Google definition.
Diathermy is a surgical technique involving the production of heat in a part of the body by high-frequency electric currents to stimulate circulation, relieve pain, destroy unhealthy tissue, or cause bleeding vessels to clot.
They put a patch on your thigh to generate the currents, the electric currents, and then using that you're able to stop any bleeding, and also I'm pretty sure it's also used to cut through tissue. Obviously you feel tugging sensations throughout the entirety of this surgery. Just because you don't feel the pain doesn't mean that you don't have like the sensation of the actual movements. So there's already kind of like a bit of discomfort, I'd say, or like mentally it's the block that's harder to get over. So you can feel that something is tugging, and mentally you're like, oh my god, that's my chest. So it's scary, right? But you don't feel any pain. Until you do. I remember he got like right around to the back of here, and all of a sudden I just felt it. I felt like a sharp pain, and I was like, ah! And he was like, oh right, okay, we need more local. That's something that's gonna stick with me for a while. It happens, obviously, like the surgeon can't tell if you feel something or how far your anesthesia has spread until you speak up about it. But just mentally, that's quite scary. So he went and stabbed me again with the anesthesia, which was nice, you know, like not being stabbed, but like I didn't feel it anymore after that, which was nice. So he finished up on that side. Throughout all of this, we're talking a lot about top surgery and scars and healing, and it was really interesting. The thing about diathermy as well is that because it is such, it's like intense heat, it burns your skin. Because of that, there's like smoke coiling up off of it, and there's a smell. You can smell burning skin. Yeah, it smells like burnt flesh. It's not nice. And wearing a mask meant that like the smell kind of felt trapped. This side we moved on to, and this was the nightmare side. This was the side that just like, oh, it was horrible, guys. It was so horrible. So the diathermy part was what I struggled with the most. I just felt it. Like I felt quite a lot of pain around this side, and even if it wasn't pain, at times it felt like very intense sucking sensation, which made me jolt. So I was kind of like jolting all over the place, and I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm trying not to move, but it's just like either the pain or like the kind of the shock of the sensation, it was making me like jerk. But you know, so I think had like 2 or 3 more stabs of the anesthesia in this side because I kept feeling it and I kept feeling the pain, and it was quite unpleasant. Then we reached the limit of how much we could use for my height and weight. So towards the end he was kind of just like, we're just gonna have to stick it through, I'm sorry if it's painful, but you know, we're reaching the limit. And I was like, cool, just do it please, let's do it, we can do it. I think that's all that's really worth talking about when it comes to the actual surgery. Like, it was unpleasant, and it is gonna be unpleasant because it is surgery, and if you're conscious of surgery, there's a lot of mental obstacles that you have to get over, and I just don't think I personally prepared myself enough for what it was going to be. And if I'm honest, I'm sure any surgery done under local anesthesia is probably not pleasant. It's probably as unpleasant as what I went through. And there were just extra aspects there that made it more unpleasant, which would mean, you know, the mask and being alone, and also the general sensitivity and kind of mental fragility that comes with having an already operated on chest. It was unpleasant, but it needed to be done. And my surgeon was so capable and lovely, and we talked through the entire surgery. He made it so much better. So he closed me all up, do the dressings. If you guys have watched top surgery reveal videos, you know that kind of yellowy foam. It was literally just medical tape and then that foam on my post-op binder, and that was it. Like, the dressings are so much less intense because obviously you don't have to worry about nipples. I sat up and I just made sure that I was, you know, I was okay. And then we said goodbye. I said goodbye to Miles, and I was led back upstairs to my room, where I was told basically like, you know, sit down, take your time, make sure that you're not dizzy, that you feel okay, we can get you a drink if you want. Thing is, I knew that my mum was outside waiting in the car the entire time. Bless her, because like, oh my god, that was probably horrible for her as well, just sat there waiting, not really knowing what was going on or how I felt. I knew that my mum was waiting, and that we also had like a 3.5-hour drive back to Manchester, and by this point I think it was like 7:30 p.m. so it was quite late, and I knew that I basically didn't have that much time to spend recovering in the actual hospital. I just had to get into the car and start driving back so we could be home as soon as possible. That was what was on my mind. Nurse came back in and she was like, are you going already? My nurse was so lovely. She went through all the notes, and then she gave me like a bunch of food and made some coffee for me and my mum and brought it out. So yeah, I was discharged, and that was pretty much it. That was quite a shocking aspect of how I literally just went in, had surgery, and then walked out. Like, that's the thing about day surgery, you just get it and go. Yeah, that was my revision top surgery story. I just thought it would be good to add my own experiences of how it was. In terms of healing, it's almost the same as initial top surgery. To wear your post-op binder, I was told for 4 to 5 weeks. I think that was it, that was the timeline. And same with the medical tape. Literally 1 week post-op, I just soaked my dressings, like the foam, in the shower, and I just slowly took it off. And once that's done, it's pretty much just like 5 to 6 weeks of medical taping and wearing your post-op binder, and also obviously making sure that you're not doing any heavy lifting or exercise, because despite the incisions not being as intense or bad or whatever, it is still a case of your incisions are healing and you don't want to stretch your scars. I'm really sorry, I've kind of become quite bad at communicating lately, tripping over my words. I'm sorry, this probably hasn't been a very coherent video. I tried, I made notes, but I really hope this was helpful for anyone who wanted to learn a bit more about revision top surgery. So Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a lovely and safe Christmas and New Year, or Hanukkah, or whatever holidays that you celebrate. Please stay safe. These times are really hard for everyone. Yeah, I think that's the video. I think I have nothing else to speak about. Bye bye, I love you all.